Mike's farm, and we're gonna go out into the woods and pick some fiddleheads for dinner. Fry them up with some butter and garlic, and it'll be lovely. So come on, I'll take you with me. These are ostrich ferns. These are the ones that you want. If you see down here, they come from a center point and they're not furry. You see how clean they are? Everything's clean. Now these ones are a little bit too advanced. You don't really want to pick those off because see, all this is all unfolded. You want them when they're nice and tight. There's quite a few ostrich ferns on John's brother's property, so hopefully I'm not too late. We might not get a whole lot, but we'll see what we can find. Okay, so these are a good example of a nice tightly knit fern. There's a little bit of, I guess, just skin casing on there, and it just falls right off. But they're nice and tight, and they're not furry, and they're very close to the ground, which is what you want, because the taller they get, the tougher they get. And you want them nice and short. So when they're close to the ground, that's when the head is nice and tight. Something else that I just want to mention is that when you're picking things from the wild, you don't want to overstay your welcome. You don't want to take too much from one plant because you want that plant to be able to regenerate next year. A lot of times if you take too much of the plant, it weakens it, and sometimes it might not come back next year, or it's not going to come back as strong. And then if you keep going at it and going at it, then eventually you're going to kill the plant off altogether, and then you won't have wild edibles to eat. So you have to forage responsibly and make sure that you're, just not overstaying your welcome. So sometimes just take, just take a few from each plant, and that enables the plant to keep regenerating and lets it be a healthy plant. So this is a good example of a red fern. You do not want to eat these ones. Even though it looks like a fern and it might look like a fiddlehead coming up, just leave it alone. I've just come across this, and that's a good example of the kind of fern that you want to look out for. Everything is growing up from the center. This one, the Fiddleheads, this one, they're just starting to come out here. And it doesn't take long for them to come up, about a week, and they start coming up and getting green and getting ready to be picked. So sometimes if you're a little early, you have to just keep checking back every day or every couple of days. Because once they're too far, they're too far. You don't want to eat them anymore. So if you really like fiddleheads, it's worth keeping an eye on them. So I think we got a fair amount. We got enough. We got 2 large handfuls like this, and that's plenty for 2 people for a very nice dinner. And like I said before, when you're picking the fiddleheads, you don't want to overstay your welcome. Make sure you don't pick too much in one area. Really spread yourself out so that growth next year is good as well. That's just how you keep things growing back and growing back. You don't want to be too greedy and take too much. So The black flies are getting very, very bad, so I think I'm going to call it there, and I'll take you back to the kitchen and we'll cook some up for dinner. After a long walk back through the field, these are going to be a real treat to cook these up this afternoon. So what I've done here is I've given the fiddleheads a very good wash under cold running water in a colander. Then I've taken them and I've laid them out on some paper towel. I've done that because I just want to fold it over like this and give it a light press. I don't want any extra water in the fiddleheads when I fry them because that water is going to come out of them and into the pan, and you don't want that. You want to keep your pan as hot as possible. You don't want to steam them. Now just take a small bowl and put your fiddleheads in it and put it to the side for a moment. We're just going to do a little light prep work. We're just going to cut up some garlic. When it comes to the garlic, it's just about personal preference. If you like a lot of garlic, put a lot in. If you just like a little bit, just put a little bit in. If you're doing this for the first time picking fiddleheads, I'd recommend maybe just using one small clove until you see the flavor, and then next time, or if you're able to, you could go out again the same season and pick some more and then try some different flavor combinations with them. But for today, I like them a little bit lighter, so I'm only using one small clove of garlic. I'm just going to chop it very, very fine. I don't want too big of pieces. And I might not even use the whole thing. Once you have everything prepared and you're ready to saute your fiddleheads, take a cast iron pan and preheat it about medium high. Don't go all the way high. You don't want to burn them. You only get one shot. You did so much work to pick them. It'd be a terrible shame if you were to burn them because you got a little too hasty. So medium high, and keep a very close eye on them. But it's going to take a couple minutes for your pan to preheat. So what I've got here is I've got my fiddleheads and my butter standing by, and my garlic is just over here, and a wooden spoon for stirring. The pan seems hot enough, so I'm going to go ahead and start sauteing our fiddleheads. So I'm just going to take, that's about 2 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to let that melt in our pan. And I'm going to take our fiddleheads and I'm just going to dump them in. Hear that sizzle? Go. It doesn't take long. There we go. Add a very small amount of salt and pepper. If you need a little more butter, go ahead and put a little more in. I think I need a little bit more. They will shrink down in size a little bit, just like spinach. It's actually very similar. I find they smell like cucumbers when you first pick them, but then when you fry them up and eat them with salt and pepper, then they taste more like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. And I'm taking about a tablespoon, sorry, not a tablespoon, I'm taking about a teaspoon of that garlic. It smells so good. And believe it or not, I need a little bit more butter. They soak up a lot of butter. Just like mushrooms, they soak up a lot of butter. Well, it's time to see how they came out. They look great. They're absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. There's something so thrilling about taking a walk in the woods and coming out with food you can eat. It's really amazing. It's really, really amazing what you can get from nature, what's already there in nature that you can just go and collect and forage and come back and cook for yourself for dinner. It's amazing. So give it a try, because I really think that two great experiences: going out into the woods and, spending the day with somebody. Take your kids out, pick some fiddleheads, come back and cook them up. And they're just wonderful. It's a great introductory to foraging. It's very safe. So go on out, get some, fry them up. The season's short, so get out there now. Remember to pick responsibly and enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a bunch. Bye.